I am again thankful to all news media outlets for letting me use their contents. I greatly appreciate that. I am available 24/7 if they need any assistance. Now go to the headlines. Hi and very warm welcome at Amir Shekel 5858. I am Amir Shekel. Following news headlines have been reported by world major English news channels and news agencies. So please watch it.
Tonight, breaking news as we come on the air, the new passenger scare. Authorities say a passenger jet in Florida, engines roaring, taking off, but they were not on the actual runway. Air traffic controllers calling it off. How did this happen? Also breaking tonight, President Trump signing a new executive order aimed at shutting down the Department of Education. The president saying today it is, quote, doing us no good. What this now means for millions of children and their families who count on financial aid and other programs from the department. Tonight, across the U.S., the growing number of attacks on Teslas, arson, and vandalism, what Elon Musk is saying the company is now doing tonight. There have been multiple arrests. Attorney General Pam Bondi now calling the attacks, quote, domestic terrorism. Tonight, the intimate photos hacked. The former NFL and college football coach accused of getting into computers to gain access to the photos of thousands of students, allegedly targeting female athletes. Just in tonight, authorities say this is the selfie the suspect in the Idaho college murders case took just hours after the deadly attack. And what they now say he bought on Amazon months before the murders. Tonight, an American man released by the Taliban held for more than 2 years. News on his condition. Tonight, a federal judge lashing out at the Justice Department, accusing them of evading his order to provide answers on those deportation flights, sending hundreds to an El Salvador prison. And tonight, the family of one of those prisoners saying he's no criminal, he's a professional soccer player. The major storm moving into the Northeast tonight from Washington, D.C. to Philadelphia, New York City to Boston. Lee Goldberg standing by to time this out. The alarming post call for children getting onto a school bus. A driver just inches away from hitting the children. And tonight here, Ringo Starr performing at the Grand Ole Opry for the first time. And we're there. The Beatles star goes country. From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this.
It's coming your way. Hey, hey. It's video of the day. She tried to get cute about which flags we salute. Our video of the day comes to us from a Washington state mayor who slammed an LGBT activist who complained about him flying the POW MIA flag at City Hall, but not the pride flag. Roll it, Hugo.
I want to say for the record, I'm very much in support of them and have absolutely no problem with the POWMIA flag. Flying it for 100 days a year is a political stunt. Your approach to trying to trick people out of having to fly the pride flag in June by making sure that the POWMIA flag was flown is really disgusting. And again, it's not impartial in any way. And I think that you should be ashamed. I definitely am.
Wow. I don't know what that meant, but she's so mad about the military. Why did she choose their haircut? She then stepped away from the mic, confident her bravery would be cheered by everyone at softball practice. But her smug, entitled view did not go unnoticed.
I will not sit here and have somebody tell me that veterans are a political stunt. How dare you? Hundreds of thousands of people died for this country so that you could fly your pride flag. Those 82,000 people who never came home will never have a chance to have a family or grow up while you can fly your pride flag. They sacrificed their lives all over the world for America and for freedom around the world. And your libelous comments on Facebook, I tolerate it because, you probably can't help yourself, but don't ever disparage veterans in front of me.
Yeah, he put her... He put her down like Chrissy Gnome's dog.
Tonight,
Tonight, President Trump takes on the Department of Education. The president tried to make good on a campaign promise to shut the federal agency down, but does he have the authority? White House correspondent Kate Warren, the Education Secretary. The federal charges just filed on the Molotov cocktail attacks on Tesla cars and charging stations. 3 suspects facing up to 20 years in prison. The Georgetown researcher detained and facing deportation over alleged terror ties. Gabe Gutierrez on the order a federal judge just issued to the Trump administration. Are America's bridges at risk? Nearly 1 year after the deadly collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge, Tom Costello on the new warning that dozens of bridges, including the Golden Gate and Brooklyn bridges, could be vulnerable. The dangerous weather ripping across the country, the wildfire growing in Florida, and the devastating tornado hitting Indiana. The frightening Southwest mix-up, the plane that nearly took off from an Orlando taxiway instead of the runway. Liftoff canceled just in time.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
On this Thursday night, the countdown to a federal election call. As Prime Minister Mark Carney hits the hockey rink.
Didn't fall down, at least.
When sources say the face-off will be called and when Canadians may cast their ballots. Preliminary findings into this near disaster at Pearson. What happened just before February's crash landing? Ukraine's future, strategies to keep the country safe and secure after the war. And the Vancouver record store owner who almost let it be.
Can you play the reel? I would love to.
His accidental discovery of a Beatles demo tape with a little help from a friend.
Global National with Donna Friesen, reporting tonight.
Hi, you're watching Daybreak on France 24. I'm Karis Garland. Thanks for joining us. Here's a look at our headlines. Donald Trump has signed an executive order aimed at eliminating the U.S. Education Department, casting the move as necessary to save money and improve educational standards. We'll get more with David Smith in Washington. French President Emmanuel Macron has called a meeting of Ukraine's allies for next week, hoping to finalize plans to secure a potential truce in the war with Russia. This as EU leaders vowed to continue to support Ukraine without making any concrete pledges. And thousands have ramped up protests in Turkey despite a ban on street gatherings. This in the wake of what they called the undemocratic detention of Istanbul's mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu. Also coming up in the show, as we mark the first ever World Day for Glaciers this Friday, we look at the effects of climate change on the ice giants. The UN says melting glaciers is leading to water scarcity, rising sea levels, and an increased risk of natural disasters.
This is Asia Now.
Hi and good afternoon. It is 12 p.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 9:30 a.m. in New Delhi, 11 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Yasmin Yonkers at this hour. As Israel and Hamas trade military blows, abandoning their ceasefire, protests mount on Tel Aviv over Benjamin Netanyahu's move to resume the war and fire the head of the Shin Bet domestic intelligence agency. North Korea conducts tests on a new anti-aircraft missile system as it threatens strong action against U.S.-South Korea military drills in the region. And services at London's Heathrow Airport grind to a halt after a large fire at a nearby electricity substation. Around 150 people have been evacuated, with major disruptions expected over the coming days at one of the world's busiest airports.
The election.
Today, Coles and Woolworths found to be among the most profitable supermarkets in the world and have so much power they don't need to compete hard on prices. An inquiry
inquiry to be launched into the troubled childcare sector following a Four Corners investigation. US President Donald Trump signs an executive order to overhaul the country's education department. And Zimbabwe's Kirsty Coventry to become the first ever female president of the International Olympic Committee. Hello, welcome to ABC News. I'm Selena Edmonds. Australia's consumer watchdog has found
From CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News.
Good evening, I'm Maurice Dubois.
I'm John Dickerson.
We begin with a follow-up to our top story last night. The Trump administration deporting a Venezuelan asylum seeker who has no criminal record and who his family says is not a gang member. It is believed he is now in a notoriously dangerous prison in El Salvador.
After our story aired last night, we heard from an attorney who has tracked at least 44 Venezuelan migrants with no criminal records in the United States or their home country. She says they too were among the 238 Venezuelans deported to El Salvador aboard 3 planes and now in that prison.
CBS News has obtained that all the men deported, the White House insists they were all criminals, members of a Venezuelan gang.
But that is in dispute. Nancy Cordes is at the White House with more on this story. Nancy?
For just $49, you can transform any text into captivating animated videos featuring real humans.
John, good evening. And
good morning. Breaking news today. Thousands stranded as Heathrow Airport shuts down.
Yes, a huge fire breaks out beside Britain's busiest airport, and it's causing mass cancellations.
Almost 1,500 flights impacted, with warnings of disruption will be worldwide.
And that's as dozens of firefighters are battling the blaze, as more than 16,000 homes in West London remain without power.
Also today, a blow for the Chancellor. Official growth forecast could be halved in a major blow ahead of the spring statement.
A very popular thing to do, but much more importantly, it's a common sense thing to do, and it's going to work. Absolutely, it's going to work. I want to just make one little personal statement. Teachers to me are among the most important people in this country, and we're going to take care of our teachers.
Donald Trump signs an executive order to dismantle the education department. The Democrats have condemned the move, but could it save America's youngsters?
Getting tough on crime. The Met Office name and shame 100 perpetrators of violence against women.
Prince William shows his support for troops in Estonia, of course, as the threat of Russia looms ever large.
Good morning. It's opening night for England under Thomas Tuchel. We'll look ahead to the World Cup qualifier against Albania at Wembley, with captain Harry Kane saying his goals have been taken for granted. Meanwhile, boxing legend Frank Bruno suffers a mid-air health scare, and the IOC has a new president. Join me later.
Hello there, good morning. Still plenty of spring sunshine on offer. That's away from the west though, with more cloud and some longer spells of rain. Stay tuned and I'll have all the details.
It's just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Ann Diamond, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Hello, you're watching Sky News. I'm Nick Qureshi. Here are the headlines. Heathrow Airport announces it will stay closed until midnight after a significant power outage caused by a nearby fire. Also, guaranteeing security for Ukraine. The UK Prime Minister sent a warning to allies about Russia and gathers military leaders in London.
A deal without anything behind it is something that Putin will breach. We know that because it's happened before, and I'm absolutely clear in my mind it will happen again.
It comes as defence firms call for funding support to ensure the UK can meet demands. While Prince William is in Estonia in a show of strength and unity with the countries which lie on the Russian border. Plus, a moment of hope amidst the destruction as Israel continues to bombard Gaza. And the motor racing world pays tribute to Formula One legend Eddie Jordan, who's died at the age of 76.
The sport will be poorer without him because of what he achieved and what he stood for, and just what a racer he was.
Hi, morning. Good to have your company. And let's start with breaking news. Heathrow Airport has announced it's going to stay shut until
Africa News. The news.
South Africa is actively engaging with the Trump administration to enhance its trade relationship with the United States despite ongoing diplomatic tensions following expulsion of its ambassador. Presidential spokesperson stated on Thursday that President Cyril Ramaphosa is committed to strengthening ties, particularly in trade.
Equally, the president is keen that we look at the opportunity to research the relationship between South Africa and the United States, particularly on the trade front, where there are a lot of opportunities to expand the trade relationship. The TTIC is leading a process to look at that basket of tradable goods and look at how we expand it, so that at an appropriate time, when we begin to have escalated engagements between ourselves and the Trump administration, we're able to also take a more forward-looking approach.
The South African Department of Trade.
Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed announced on Thursday that his administration would avoid escalating tensions with Eritrea regarding access to the Red Sea, despite warnings from regional officials and experts about a potential conflict between the two neighboring countries. Concerns about war have intensified recently following Eritrea's declaration of a nationwide military mobilization and Ethiopia's troop movement towards the border, as reported by diplomatic and official sources. Abiy emphasized that while access to the Red Sea is crucial for landlocked Ethiopia, his government is committed to resolving the issue through peaceful dialogue rather than military confrontation. Renewed hostilities between the two nations could jeopardize the historic reconciliation that earned Abiy the Nobel Prize in 2019 and could lead to a humanitarian crisis in a region already affected by the ongoing conflict in Sudan. The state television of Sudan reported on Thursday that the army is nearing the capture of the presidential palace in Khartoum from the paramilitary rapid support forces, indicating a pivotal change in the ongoing two-year conflict that risks dividing the nation. On Wednesday evening, intense fighting broke out near the palace, accompanied by explosions and airstrikes from the army targeting central Khartoum, according to accounts from witnesses and military sources. For almost 2 years, the RSF has maintained control over much of Western Sudan and parts of Khartoum, but it has been losing territory in central Sudan to the advancing army. The conflict began after the two military factions executed a coup in 2021, disrupting the transition to civilian governance. Hostilities escalated in April 2023 when new transition plans sparked violent confrontations. The ongoing war has resulted in what the United Nations described as the largest humanitarian crisis in the world, with both
residents of Port-au-Prince in Haiti's capital protested on Tuesday, seeking protection against gang violence. Armed with machetes and stones, the protesters attempted to reach the Prime Minister's office, but were held back by police using tear gas. We will not accept that the state is colluding with gangs to sell the country. This is the only Haiti we have. This flag is our flag. They will not cast us out. They have no right to deport us from our country. We will not accept that. The protesters claim that they have been hearing press of a gang invasion in their neighborhoods of Canap Vert for days and made several appeals for police protection. On Wednesday, they took matters into their own hands. They armed themselves with knives and machetes, blocking roads leading to the Canap Vert with trees and burning tires. We have nowhere to go, young men and women. We can't run around here all day and night. We say no, that's enough. The gang threatening the neighborhood is part of the Viv and Sam coalition, which has already taken control of many other areas. Capital gangs control 85% of the capital and continuously target previously peaceful communities to try and gain control of even more territories.
Thank you very much for giving time to Amir Shekel 5858. I am Amir Shekel. Have a good life. Bye-bye.